Welcome, everyone, to Two Guys in Hockey Talk. My name is Pawel with my wonderful, but somehow in the dark, ready for Halloween co-host, Evan. Evan, how you doing?
Hey man, I'm doing great. I'm a little in the dark. Literally, my whole day has been in the dark, in a lot of figurative ways. But this is the best light I can get. In fact, I'm on the side of the road heading to Red Deer. I'm like 15 kilometers out. I can't remember my confirmation booking for my room. I have no idea. I've called a bunch of hotels, checked in. I got 2 nights here, and I like to say I'm scouting. And I'm not even scouting. At least that would have made a little bit more sense. This is just to make pure money so I can do this show, buddy.
Well, we appreciate you coming on the show and making the time because we are here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. You guys can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram. You can get us on Twitter /X at Renaerts or myself at Pawel or hockey_2. See, Pawel is in my mind, my own name. So we've got a lot to cover today, Evan, because there's been quite a bit in the happening around the league. So I think we can get started with kind of Brad Marchand and his coming home party. So there was a standing ovation at TD Gardens with his return, where they played the Florida Panthers. Florida ended up coming out on top after that miraculous toe drag and essentially coming on and scoring, passing it up to, I think it was Lukanen or Ristolainen. Which one was it? One of the two guys, the center there for Florida. And just wanted to get your thoughts on his kind of tribute video and him being emotional.
Yeah, I mean, how can Brad not be emotional? This guy.
Lundell. Sorry, my apologies. Lundell.
Lundell. Oh, okay. I thought we were talking about Brad. I was gonna say I didn't see Brad emotional. I saw him. He was a great night, but yeah, Lundell. So who? Sorry, who was emotional? Maybe I don't even know who we're talking about.
No, I meant the pass earlier. I was trying to remember the player name for that fed the pass for the assist to Lundell to score the. I think it was either the game-winning goal or the time-winning goal.
Who was emotional?
Brad Marchand was.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't see the emotion piece, so I didn't see that. I just
it was teary-eyed, very intense. Yeah.
Yeah, I caught earlier. I've been kind of out of the loop this whole week, so I'm just catching pieces and highlights and watching on P. So I actually didn't catch that, but it would make so much sense. Just as a Boston Bruins fan, even our buddy over there, he would tell you that Kyle Edwards, right? He would just tell you that, Brad was their bread and butter. I know everyone loves Passy. But Brad stirred that pot, man. Brad, like in every way, not only trouble, but he also stirred it like with parties and connections. I mean, he truly was a leader there inside out. And so, it was nice. I think he wishes they would have just let him stay. That was the key. But yeah, hey, Brad, I'm glad you got a chance to go back and they gave you a great tribute.
100%. And Lost Trucker says Pause is doing his best to confuse co-hosts since he's in the dark because she's saying you seem to be lost. Rev is lost. We agree.
Yeah, I call me the Lost Trucker with a 3/4 ton.
Who's what's it called? Who's the arena that turned the lights off for you because they didn't want you practicing or playing in
there? So hey, that was the old Boston Gardens. Hang on, let me get this right. 1988, didn't the lights go out in the Stanley Cup final between the Edmonton Oilers and the Boston Bruins?
It has, but more recently in the last few months, both this season and last season, I believe this season Chicago was playing someone, I want to say St. Louis, and the lights went out. So that was, what's it called? A little bit of a funny go of it because you think like, oh, hey, what's it called? You would have an equipment manager managing or whoever's monitoring the facility would have it going on, but it does go out from time to time. So of course there's a whistle blown and plays are dead. So great return for him. I mean, there was a lot of conversation when he stepped up to the podium about questions about his time in Boston for Brad Marchand. He talked about how both sides were kind of stubborn, emotional, and they couldn't come to an agreement. And you wonder now if Boston could have used a captain like that to
Yeah.
step on and what that difference is. And good for him for heading over to Florida because it was a golden ticket to end up at the Stanley Cup final and winning. But of course, he's got a family, Evan, and unless you're a younger player who's just up and coming, it's hard to leave your family. It's hard to uproot your family, especially if they're in school and things like that. And he signs his 6-year, $5+ million contract with Florida. Nobody cares about what the fourth, fifth, or even sixth year of that contract looks like. It's right now. They're trying to three-peat. They're trying to continue on. But I wanted to get your thoughts because there's been a lot of rumblings, and we'll get into the 3 stars of some of the teams. But there seems to be some kind of disparity in the team, and we talked about it last week about how some teams are starting off to slow starts. We're coming up on 10 games in. Oftentimes, Brian Book, as people may know, the former GM of the Vancouver Canucks and the Toronto Maple Leafs, he talked about how by Thanksgiving, if you're in the playoff hunt, or even 4 points out of a playoff hunt, you'll get in. But there's a lot of teams that are kind of panicking. And beyond the top 3 and bottom 3, and I believe the top 3 are Vegas, Colorado, and maybe Winnipeg. And the bottom are Calgary, San Jose, and a few others. And so you wonder to yourself, Evan, should there be panic for teams like Florida who aren't exactly off to the best start, right? I believe they're 4-3-0 right now. So your thoughts on their kind of start? Is it just they're tired after 3 cup finals in a row, or is it something more?
Yeah. Well, I mean, why don't we include the Stanley Cup finalists also, the Edmonton Oilers? Another slow start for the 3rd year in a row, last 2 years in the finals. What is it? I think there's something about veteran teams. It's just like they're going through the motions. I know a little later on you're going to be talking about some rookies that are doing well, and I'll throw in my opinion later on about why. But part of this is I think when you got so many veterans, you'll notice it's actually the rookies that are the guys that are actually feeling like they have all the momentum, all the excitement. They're giving it like it's the Stanley Cup finals already. And all these other players take a while to seem to build chemistry, to get their plays. Connor McDavid is looked like, basically an average player this year. After signing that contract for the next 2, it looks like this year he might not even earn it if you said, do you just take the first amount of games? It looks like Florida will be a wild card team after the first few games. People got to relax, give them 15 games in, see where they're at. If they're below 500, start worrying. But, right now, I think don't worry too much about the standings. Don't worry too much about your teams that have a lot of veterans. But if you have a lot of younger guys, Pawel, I would be worried right now.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, I think 10 games, then you can kind of make an assessment of what your team is. I do feel for the Florida Panthers, given that they're out with Barkov. Kachuk's not going to be there for a little bit. And they recently lost Kulikov. He was a big staple of their back end, even though he played probably the bottom 6 minutes. He's the 3rd pairing guy. But again, you're getting a full season of Seth Jones, which is good. Aaron Ekblad's going into a contract season. What's that going to look like? Bobrovsky, although he's getting older, another contract season. Or did Ekblad sign?
What's that?
Did Aaron Ekblad sign, or is he in a contract year?
No. He
signed. Sorry, that was Bobrovsky.
All 3.
I think most of the guys are locked up. See, there's so many contracts to remember. We appreciate our partners at Puckpedia who can give us the answers right away. But Bobrovsky in a contract here, although he's getting up there in age, you wonder what's going to happen. I wanted to jump over a little bit, still in the Atlantic, but to the Toronto Maple Leafs, because besides the fact that the city is in pandemonium with Blue Jays going to the World Series, so congrats to them facing off with the LA Dodgers. It's been excellent baseball postseason. I wanted to know, the team hasn't really figured out its stride. And we talked a bit this year about what that team's going to look like without Marner. And it's starting to show its cracks because they can't really get their lineup set up. Now, a couple days ago when the team played Seattle, I believe it was last weekend, Stolar's got run into, and it looks like nobody reacted. There wasn't much of a kerfuffle about it. And so he came out and made some very pointed comments about the team and how, including William Nylander, didn't pinch at the end. You've got Matthews, who's not playing as healthy as he may look, as the 69 goal scorer that he should be. And they're kind of juggling the line. The guys that they brought on, Nicholas Waugh, Dakota Joshua, Machelli, who's been brought in over from Utah, like they don't seem to be clicking. And is that just an early thing, or are we seeing a bit of a regression with the Maple Leafs? And what does that look like? And now they're out with Tanev this weekend after that. I believe it was that hit or block that he did. So versus the New Jersey Devil. Your thoughts on Toronto? What's going to happen there?
I forget what you had felt. I know I had said right away that there was no replacement for Marner. People were talking about we're going to get 3-4 players and pay them the money that Marner would get. You don't win cups that way. And, people will say, well, you don't win cups with Marner too. It's just like, and again, I'm going to come back and say, guys, why do you think Marner's the problem when he had the most points per game in the playoffs? Yes, he made mistakes and they were quite well known. But Matthews isn't stepping up. I don't see Nylander stepping up. Tavares wasn't stepping up as far as better than. In fact, the only one that had a little bit less in the playoffs was Tavares. But at least he had some goals. So I said it from the beginning. They got guys. They were relying on Matthew Knies as this superstar, which is just like, are you guys crazy? I mean, he's going to be a complimentary player at some point, but he's way too new in there to have enough a track record to show what he's going to produce. And they're essentially playing third-line guys as top six. And so how are you going to win with that?
Well, I mean, that comes down to coaching, I think. And I know that Stolar's indicated to, well, you got to get the most out of your guys. You got to be able to motivate them, right?
Yeah, but you can't motivate a guy who doesn't have the skill to be in the top six. You can get him up a few
you have
games.
an opportunity to elevate your game, and you've seen it in other, teams and other organizations where it's the next man up. Who's stepping up to take over that place? Even for the time being, you got to be able to do it. You got to have depth in your organization.
I guess that's two separate pieces, though. I feel that the first piece is, are you talking about just for a few games, or are we talking for the season? I didn't like what they looked like.
Well, it's a little bit of both, right?
To me, there was no step up. I think they're performing exactly what we thought, or at least I thought that they were, and many other people. So I think it's wrong to have too high of expectations on these other guys. But you are right. If they would step up, they're going to have a chance. But, for example, Matthew Knies has to step up if he's going to want to actually stick around long. Otherwise, he's going to be the next Robertson.
Yep. And I think Robertson's time is close to coming up. I know he's been in trade rumors for a long time.
Yeah.
And good for him, because he comes in, he does his work, he works out, he prepares mentally, he gets ready for the game, and he does his best. And he does have a good finish. He's not his brother, but he could still really compete. I just think that Toronto's really worried that he will go somewhere else and have success. And a team I look at potentially him moving to is like a Chicago, is like a San Jose. And the reason I first said Chicago is because Bedard's having a good year so far. He's really stepped it up. Chicago looks like they're taking that next step. Now, I'm not saying they're a playoff contender, but they're moving in the right direction. And I really believe that if you can get somebody in that top 9 or top 6 for Bedard to kind of help him finish, and that Robertson can put the puck in the net, and those two teams have been trading partners in the past, you can make it work. So it'll be interesting to see, because the team really has to pick it up. There's a lot on the line, especially given that it's kind of funny, Evan, to think that they're looking, and Brad True Living has made it indicated, and Keith Pelly, the owner of MLSC, partial owner, said that he's allowed the team to look for a top 6 winger. Well, newsflash, guys, you had a top 6 winger and you got him out of the room. And I get it. He's not there anymore. He's having a great success with Vegas. But I gotta tell you, Evan, it's funny that, like, hey, we need an elite top 6 winger that can make plays and perform. Well, you just got rid of 100 points. You ran him out of town because you weren't happy with his playoff performance. So what do you do?
Can I just say?
Go ahead.
Can I just say, Roslovic was one of the guys that they were wanting. They didn't like the price range. And then they were also one of the ones that did decide to track back, and they were one of the ones that he just decided, even though there was more money, not as much as he wanted, there were more money, but then he chose to take less and go to Edmonton. Obviously, because he wants to build his resume, right? I mean, that's the
100%.
whole thing to and potentially go for a cup, even if it's a one-off year, which is all I actually think it'll end up being.
100%. So now getting into the 3 stars of the week, because it's been kind of a busy week for a lot of NHL games.
Yeah.
We look at another team out in the Atlantic, and Dylan Larkin is solidly putting an excellent year so far this year for the Detroit Red Wings. Now they're, I think, tied for first with Montreal, who is another, had another successful start to the season. And again, Evan, we talk about the importance of strong starts. Winnipeg had a strong start last year, and they went undefeated for a while. And the reason they were able to coast through and win the President's Trophy last year is because they did so well. Now, when you falter come December, January, February, where there's a bit of a lull in the, in the season, and you don't feel like, you're up to the task. Well, those early points that you gained, whether in overtime, even 1 or 2, it helps in the long run. So your thoughts on Dylan Larkin, as well as Jack Eichel and Scotch Wedgwood being named 3 stars of the week?
Wedgwood definitely. What a great week for him. And Dylan Larkin, I remember when he got drafted, I was one of the I had him ranked there, but I was one of the naysayers that did not think that he might have what it takes to really be a superstar. I really didn't. I know a lot of people did, and good on them, but there was just things to his game. I thought I saw some lack of work ethic in his game. Obviously, it was way I saw him skate, move, but I mean, his IQ on the ice, what he's able to do is amazing. So good for him. I appreciate that, what he's given and his love and passion for Detroit. So I'm excited actually for Detroit. I really hope this is the year. The wild card, however, I don't think they're ready yet. But man, hey, Michael Devellano, head scout U.S. for the Everett Silvertips, one of our regular guests that comes on. We might have to get him on later this year and ask him what he thinks about the Detroit Red Wings, because I know he loves that team. That's one of the teams he loves to follow. So, but good on Dylan, and I'm glad to see that Detroit's really, really looking good. Considering, let's just hope though they don't lose the traction in the next couple of weeks here.
And lulls do happen in the season. Losing streaks do happen. Hopefully it's not major. But if you recall, Evan, game 1, when they laid that goose egg, Todd McLellan came out and ripped the team. He gave it to them. He said, you know what? This is not good enough. And a lot of people said, whoa, pump the brakes. You can only do that so many times as a coach. Well, he did it at the right time because he knows what this team is capable of. And he's not starting from game 1, Evan. He's starting from last season when he saw what this team was potential of, the run they had, and then the flop that they had. I think it was January, February, where they were in the hunt, and then they just fell out of it for whatever reason. And let's talk about a lot of those kids that Yzerman took a pamphlet on, and really they have really paid off. So good for Detroit, because I think that they're really coming together, and it looks like they have some excess defensemen. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a move made or two by Yzerman in the coming weeks here. So we'll report on that when we're coming up here. Now, I want to move over to the Metro, because I know the poster boy, the gentleman that could be on Mount Rushmore, Sidney Crosby, he continues to shine, Evan. I mean, Pittsburgh was supposed to be bottom of the barrel. They were supposed to be the only team that every media outlet had saying, hey, they're going to be competing for Gavin McKenna. Well, they're 5-2-0 right now, Evan, right? And they're on fire. Like, they are just right. And you see Crosby playing, he is happy. And he recently scored his 17th career goal. Now, that's insane.
700. I know you meant 700th, but I think you said 17th.
Sorry, my apologies. 700. And he is an all-time points leader now, beating out the legendary Mario Lemieux. What's already been said has been said, but what more can we add to this milestone of a hell of a career and a resume for one of the best in the game?
Top 5, man. Top 5 all-time. Right now he's top 5. If he can stick around another couple years and still go and be at least a point per game and good defensively and a leader, maybe go out with another gold medal or even a silver medal, man. That would still be an amazing, astounding, incredible. And he is. I mean, he is on my top five Mount Rushmore. I believe he's a better leader than Marc Messier was. I know everyone calls out Marc Messier for the leadership award. I still think it's ridiculous that he only won it once in his career. I mean, he should have won that thing 5, 6 times. I feel like it's a gentleman's agreement that we find a new leader every year to make them feel happy, kind of like they're playing kids' sports. Um, but yeah, man, Crosby, and can I just mention what about his longtime superstar line mate? Malkin is playing like a superstar this year. It's like he's rejuvenated, and we hear all this talk that this could be his last year in Pittsburgh, potentially going to the KHL, or maybe if they weren't doing well, that they would end up, ask for a trade to go somewhere else. I know the rumor was, but by the way, let me just come to this, and you can bring me back to the Pittsburgh thing.
For sure.
Malkin. So a lot of people think Barkov is done. He won't be back. I have been given some certainties from players, former pro players who have actually gone through that injury. They feel he'll be back about a month or 2 months before the playoffs and then have some games in place. But that means even if he gets back only for a week before the playoffs, they cannot go grab a guy like Malkin and put
Yeah.
him in for that salary because
Yeah.
of the new changes.
Yeah. 100%. So back to Crosby, as you wanted to indicate.
Yeah, so Crosby, man, what I love? No matter, he's probably one of the few players who plays better with guys who are not superstars. I mean, how many players he made? Colby Armstrong, he made Chris Kunitz. Kunitz got on an Olympic team just
Yeah.
because of who he played with. I mean,
Yeah.
who knows if Zach Hyman gets back in time? I'm a little worried Zach might be a little too late, but Zach Hyman might have
Well, and
gone
if
on
he
to.
re-aggravates his injury, right? Like you don't want to see that as well,
Yeah.
right? I know it was
Well,
an awkward risk.
I think he would have had he started the year and had a great start. I
Yeah.
think because he's with McDavid, that could have been a potential. I think it's now out of the question. But coming back to Crosby, yeah, he makes players better all the time. Players who are average players, players who could go other places, they're good. But what he teaches them makes them like really good players.
And I will say to hi to Kyle, who's tuning in. Hey, Kyle, hope you're doing well. The Boston Bruins are going, although they're 3-4-0,
Hey,
but
hey
it's been
dude,
good so far. I'm sure he's enjoying
Shaka.
it. I agree, and I gotta say, Evan, because you kind of alluded to it with Hyman, and I think you talk about the impact McDavid and Draisaitl have that team, 100%. But you see that heart now without Corey Perry there in Edmonton, how much they miss Zach Hyman. He really drives not only that top power play unit, but just the guys in the room. He's emotional. You know what he saw with the Amazon series, with him making the comments that they'll be back next year as of this past year in the playoffs. Like
Yeah.
he's a guy that everyone loves. He battles. He works hard. He's your coach's dream player, right? He does all the right little things, and he knows exactly what's been happening in terms of his impact. So I hope to see him back sooner. But go ahead.
Hey, so I think the right name is right. So, guys, I've just been following a little bit recently, just because sometimes we just don't have time to follow everyone. Justin Brazu.
Listen, Brazo.
Yeah, I mean that line is crazy, but keep your eye on him. I feel like he's been a sleeper, and he could be the story maker. If Pittsburgh's going to make a playoff run this year, it's because of him. The way he clears space, gets in front of the net, he's making it easy for Malkin out there when he's playing. So, hey, good for Justin. But again, Pittsburgh is incredible. And Kindle, that's like, I mean, he's a rookie. He's
Yeah.
playing right now, and he's playing like lights out the way he's out there. I mean, they're being careful. They're protecting him out there in his time and his ice. But another player, and they have, I think, I'm trying to remember the name. Oh, the rookie. Was it Oliver Moore? They have another player. They sent him back this year. Trying to remember. So if someone's out there, hey, Jordan, if you're listening, even if it's later on, you can put it in the comment. I'm sure you know, man. Who did they draft last year that they wanted to bring in? But anyway, yeah. So I will say,
Ben
Again, this might
Kendall?
be a little too early, though. Give them 15 games. Let's see where they're at after 15 games. How do they do these next games? Into like how many they got right now? They got 7 games.
Jordan says Olin Pickering.
No, no,
Ben
no.
Kendall?
What's that?
Ben Kendall?
No, not Ben Kindle. They got him later on in the
Bill
first round.
Zonin?
Zonin, that's it. That's it. That's it. Bill Zonin.
Okay.
Yes. He had a really good camp. Really good camp. So yeah, thanks guys. Appreciate it. But yeah, so I gotta appreciate it. But let's see what they do. Whether or not these next games do they go back to a 500, 550 record, or are they going to continue this roll? Because if they get enough room up front, they could slip into a wild card if they just play like 550 hockey the rest of the way, right?
And Lost Trucker says Jamie Basco, who was on our show last week, Philadelphia Flyers beat writer, must be satisfied with the Flyers, but still unhappy with Tocchet and Matvey Michkov's development. Any quick thoughts there?
Yeah, no, I haven't asked Jamie because I don't want to put him on the spot. So I didn't get a chance this week. I'm thinking of asking someone else I know out that way to get their thoughts and to hear if there's a little bit of rumblings between Mishkov's feelings right now. I don't think Mishkov is looking happy with the way he's being deployed and the way he's being used with Tocchet. I know I didn't like this hire in the beginning. I feel like he's Torts number 2 with just a younger Torts. That's kind of what I feel. And but I mean, I hope he is a good pick because they need to start winning down there, right, Key?
100%. And I wanted to get to one other team with a great rookie who was my pick for the Calder this year, Mr. Matthew Schaefer. He has been unreal. He is making a great impact, and he is getting the trust of Patrick Waugh, the legendary Patrick Waugh, to playing around 20 plus minutes a night. Evan, let me just go through this. Versus San Jose, he played 22-34. Versus Ottawa, he played 22-33. Versus Edmonton, of course, you got the big guns, 17-38. But versus Winnipeg, one of the best elite teams, 26 minutes and 35 seconds. And before that, Washington, 26 minutes. This is an 18-year-old who was injured and didn't play more than, 35, 36 games last season in what's it called? In juniors. Like, he is unreal, and he is still performing. He's got 2 goals and a few assists already put up, 5, I believe. Like, can you say a better impact player for a team that we didn't think was going to do much this year? But what a gem has fallen for the New York Islanders. What are your thoughts on him so far?
Interesting enough, this is about deployment because he's being trusted. This is where I wanted to come back to when you're talking early season. I think people are getting really excited about seeing Schaefer saying, he's a stud. He's right there with the Victor Hedmans, or he's a bigger Lane Hudson, or he's the next Cale Makar. He might be, but I think what we all got to recognize again is right now, no one gives a crap about the Islanders when they play them, and they're not specializing against Matthew Schaefer. They don't know his game. They don't know how he plays. He's quick. He's fast. You talk about minutes. He played 17 games plus a game and a half for Team Canada last year. He's got less than 20 games in over a year and a half. He has lots of energy. He's in shape, so that's not an issue for his cardio. But his body has not been worn down. And so playing those minutes, but as the season wears on, if they're keeping him, which I think they look like they are, I thought they were going to send him back and give themselves a little more rebuild time. Looks like that's not going to happen. He's found his spot, and good for him. I always felt like he'd be a good player. But as opposed to Misa's not being deployed like that. It's a slow build. They're not giving him play. He's getting sweet power play time right now. And again, some of the teams that he's playing against, they're not focusing in on him. I think that's going to change when you get to like the 30 game mark, and I think he's going to start slowing down, and they're going to have to be careful with the ice minutes. But man, hats off to him. I just tell people, don't think this is going to continue all season long. I just can't imagine that.
So Jordan asks, do you put him as an extra on Canada? And before I let you answer, if I'm Matthew Darsh and Patrick Waugh, I'm saying yes. I am pushing for this, not only because what's it called, the experience. Like he may not play, but the experience of being around the legends that are going to be on that team, the elite talent, that rubs off on players, right? And I know we can have this debate whether you'd invite even Connor Bedard or Macklin Celebrini. I think you give him an opportunity to come just to see, just to experience it. Now I know there's logistics and stuff like that, but I would put him so far as on the roster as a backup, as like that ninth forward, because of the amount of talent we have. Because when you look at what happened at Four Nations, you kind of got your template of your back end. Now, barring an injury or something like with Petrangelo and what happened with him, which we understand now more of,
Yeah.
really like your back end is set, and maybe up front you change one or two things, right? Given the age or if somebody's not able to play and there's more room for it. But I really believe that they should be able to, what's it called, invite it. But your thoughts?
Well, so here's something interesting to talk is you don't take Evan Bouchard because he's a power play specialist and you already have Kale McCarr.
Yeah.
So why would you take a power play specialist in Matthew Schaefer? Because right now, that's where he's able to line up and walk those lines and do the same thing. I don't think you take a player if you're not planning on playing him just to get him experience in the next 4 years or in the next 8 years. They just don't do that. I like the concept, but that's generally not how they run the Olympic team. That's more of a World Junior thing that they would do for players to build them in for Team Canada. But I mean, let's face it, if he kept up what he's doing, and let's just say we're at the end of November. So in the next 4 weeks, we're dealing with he's a point 0.8 per game player, still logging 20 plus minutes a game, looking good. Has had they're going to look at how he's done physically, even though I know it's the Olympics, and they're going to look at also his mistakes. How many mistakes is he making out on the ice? They're going to look at his analytics with it. So would I put him on the team? They got a lot of good players. I don't know if they need a lot of back end moving players like Schaefer can do. I'd be tempted, but unless he performs like he is right now, and when's the selection? I think it's early December. Was when they're making their final decision. So I would wait right up to the last week before I made the final decision on that spot. I think though, yeah.
All right. And before we move over to around the rink with some news from there, Jordan asks, start, bench, cut. Do you start, bench, or cut Bedard, Celebrini, or Schaefer? Now, it looks almost spelled like Stauffer, like Bob Stauffer, the local Edmonton play-by-play. So I would say you start Bob Stauffer if you can. The man would stop everything. But I'll let you answer in just a second. But I would probably go start Celebrini, bench Bedard, and cut Schaefer, only because of experience. And I like what Celebrini has been able to bring so far, and I've liked his his game. Bedard is working there up there, but that would be my answer. Do you have a response there?
Oh boy. Okay, so this year, I'm gonna actually play. I'm gonna start Bedard. I'm gonna bench. Man, I'm gonna bench Schaefer
Okay.
based on what we just talked about, and then I'm gonna cut Macklin Celebrini. I'm not happy with Celebrini's start this season, so I mean that's such a small sample size. But hey, we're playing the game, so let's do it, dude.
It's fun. And just so you know, Evan, he was recently with Will Smith in I believe New York City, and they were filmed by some famous TikToker. It's a great video if you haven't seen it. It's on X, and she kind of asked some questions. It's a heartfelt, good kind of feel, and hockey needs more of that because you get to see kind of a little bit of the world of hockey that you talk about wanting these guys to have personality. Well, these guys are trying to have, of course, being professional. But it was a fun little interview. But around that, go ahead.
Let me just say, I think San Jose this year, after I've watched many of their games already and watching just the overall. I like the team. I really do. I like what they're building. but they are so far away from being competitive. I think they're based on what's happening. They're definitely a bottom 2-3 team this year again, and definitely I see them getting the first or the second overall pick depending on the draft.
For sure. And, it was funny comments before we get into it because there's so much with San Jose. Maybe Max Miller can comment on this about the fact that the coach said he'd give up one of his children for a win, which I thought was tongue in cheek, but I understand that that's how passionate these guys are about winning. So,
Yeah.
nonetheless, here's Around the Rink.